John Kirwan and Ric Salizzo. Was that a sort of inspiring?
I just don't know what to say about your shirt. Like, have you worn that before on the show?
I want something similar.
I mean, it's
You don't
that
like it?
bad. It actually could be. I can see someone in London wearing it,
Right.
but someone quite trendy, quite young.
Yeah.
You know, not you.
Not me.
No, not at all.
Well, would you prefer I take it off? Just with
No,
the
no,
extras?
yeah, no, that'd be good. Keep wearing it.
I was just thinking.
It actually looks like vomit.
I saw a good question. Someone was saying, if they made a movie about your life, who do you think would play you?
What a dumb question.
No, it's a good. Who do you think? Oh,
I don't know.
hold on, my mic isn't switched on properly.
Good.
I think
Good, because that was a dumb question.
All the
Scooby-Doo?
no, yeah, that guy on Scooby Doo.
So obviously you've asked me that question so that I can ask it back to you.
Well, we all know it's Steve Martin. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Steve Martin. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you'd say.
I thought you
Brad
might
Pitt.
say Robert De Niro or something.
No. Now the All Blacks have named their team today. Let's get straight into it.
Harder to get out of the All Blacks than it is to get in, Ricardo.
Well, yeah, but same 23.
Well, no,
So
yeah.
were you expecting any changes?
No,
No.
not until the third test. And I think we spoke about this a few weeks ago.
About what?
About not making any changes till the third test. Important to win the series. Once you win the series, take some risk.
Right. Okay, so they're saying to these guys, okay, you did a good job, but we're going to give you a chance to do a better job.
I think it's a bit more complex than that. I think they are looking for combinations and they're looking to change the way they play. So you can't do both. You've got to probably win the first test, then try and make some changes, but you don't make some changes to your game plan, but you don't want to do that while making changes to your team, because it'd be too hard to do, because just those little intricacies between players, understanding. And so, yeah, I think he's done that so that they can start building their game, because from what I can gather, I'm pretty sure they're going to try and change it before next year's World Cup. They've got to get the balance right.
Right. And of course, the French have made changes. I mean, 3 have come into the team from the final. So
yeah, I think the interesting thing.
Injury.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing for Jacques Brunel is that he is probably still experimenting. He's had won Six Nations. He's probably brought some guys on tour, went well for 60 minutes last week. So I think he'll probably be trying to, I don't think he'll be, of course he wants to win, but his whole idea will be making sure, you know, he's only got 12 months to World Cup. He's got a Six Nations. He's probably got November test. So he doesn't have a lot of time to get a real understanding of his team, whereas that is not an All Black problem. You know, an All Black problem this year has been around injury, a really difficult preparation.
And I heard Buster say today that they've got to get this mental thing about the All Blacks out of their minds. The French, they've got to sort of go, you know, they're just normal players.
Yeah, I don't really believe that with the French.
Mm-hmm.
I think they believe they can win. What they need is for everything to go their way, and you can see them building with confidence during the 80 minutes. And I think they were, you know, probably looking pretty until the yellow card, and then they go, whew, you know, it's not our day.
Their defence was outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean, they defend well, and Teddy Thomas is like world class.
Yeah, and look, 92% defence tackle rate, haven't let too many tries in during the Six Nations, and that's Jacques Brunel. That's what he'll do. He'll build his team off a good defensive effort.
Like
pretty hard to do with 14 men.
I really
against the All Blacks.
Enjoy listening to what you've got to say, but I'm much more interested in Steve Hansen.
Well, first and foremost is getting our mental preparation right. You know, the hardest thing to do in sport is back up a big scoreline with another big performance, and you know, every wave's different. So we've tried to work hard on our mental side of our game this week and get ourselves in the right space to be able to go out and play with real high energy and high intent. The thing we have to understand is the French are a proud nation. They're going to come out and try and rectify some of the problems they had in that last 30 minutes, and we're going to need to be right up for it. Key thing is that at this time of year, you're trying to build your skill sets and your combinations, and it's just really difficult if you keep chopping and changing the team early in the season. So what we thought we'd do is what we've done in the past and stay with a bit of consistency and reward the guys that have played well.
So just reading the comments, there's a couple of you still a couple actually from the Northern Hemisphere still talking about Offa and Sam Cane and the yellow card and all that sort of stuff. You got a definitive answer on it?
Yeah, I think that you've got a case. I'm really upset. I'm sick of the All Blacks being thrown under the bus when it's actually a refereeing issue. So if you yellow card the Frenchman, right, which it probably wasn't a yellow card, okay, but if it was, let's just say it was, and it was, then you really got a yellow card Sam Cane. I think that was a high hit, and then he was falling into Offa, right? But it's the consistency that upsets me the most. So everyone's blowing up about the All Blacks. It's not the All Blacks' fault. I want to see more money invested in the referees, and I want the referees, they're professionals, right? On Saturday, leave the referee around, right? Amateur, if you're playing school, just leave the referee. He's doing a great job. But these guys are pros, and I just think there's a lack of real transparency from the bosses. So for me, it was an error, okay? But all I want to see is consistency. So, yeah, you're probably right. Should Sam Cane have been sent off or yellow carded? Possibly, because it looks like exactly the same infringement that the Frenchman made. So that's my problem. It's the consistency of the referee. So why are we blaming the All Blacks for this? That's what upsets me the most. Because where's the explanation around the Lions series, right? Did we ever see one? Okay, what about the explanation around the Irish test in the World Cup, or the Scottish test in the Australia? Okay, so don't stop me, Ricardo.
I was just going to say, let it go. I mean,
no, because it's really important.
So what do you want? What
I want to see is more transparency from the bosses, and I want to see more investment into the referees, so that they are consistently performing under pressure, right? So are we going to see a World Cup decided by a referee's decision in the future, or are we going to invest more money in them? It's not their fault. They're good people.
When you say more money in their upskilling, their training.
The All Blacks have got Gilbert Enoka.
Yeah.
Right? Are we putting the same amount of effort into referees reacting under pressure or consistency of calls? So if you're uncertain, would we be happy that he went up to the screen and say, look, I might have got that wrong, but if it says...
Which is what he should have done. He should have, with the French...
Yeah, but it's too late.
No, with the French...
Why didn't he do it?
Yeah, and maybe that's where the guy upstairs should have gone, hey, you need to have a look at this.
And I don't know why, like I listen to a lot of shows around the world talking about rugby. Why are we throwing the All Blacks under the bus? Is it their fault? Is it their fault? They're just following... No, and please don't even say that they go out there to hurt people, because it's not true. But there are mistakes made that you pay for. Now, did the French guy intentionally hit high? No, right? But it happened. So for me, it's just high. Consistently.
I just think what I find quite ironic is that you're passionate and talking a lot about tackling, and you never made a tackle in your life.
Exactly. But like kicking.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you want to talk about Bowden Barrett's kicking.
Hey, but who beat you in 4-player on the weekend?
They don't know. They don't know what 4-player is.
Well, you tell them then, because you lost, loser.
So 4-player is a game that basically we've invented. JK's invented, and it's you can get it on your app store or your Google Play, and it's like a fantasy game where you
Can you see that?
I don't know. Well, try it again. They couldn't.
Yeah, there it is. There, 4-player. Does it come up properly?
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, so JK beat me out of the 3 games on the weekend. You beat me twice.
Yes, I'm beating you overall.
Out of the 3 months, you've beaten me twice. But that's the first time you've beaten me.
Who's ahead on points?
Yeah, well, it's the first time you've beaten me.
No,
it is.
No.
So if you want to play, what's your username?
JK14.
JK14. Mine's Ric Salizzo, which was like creative. I think Corey Jane is King Jane, and Fitzy's lead dog.
Yeah, I thought it was lean dog.
Yeah,
Fitzy?
Yeah.
I think it's a lead dog.
Yeah. Anyway, let's have a look at the highlights of the test.
Bowden Barrett takes it and slings it away to Geordie Barrett. Now here is Ben Smith. Taylor hands it on for Leonard Brown. Crotty is wide. Crotty still going. Back to Taylor. And away it goes for Ben Smith. That's a great try. The ball ripped away. Good work by Luke Whitelock. Here's Taylor still on the field. Finds McKenzie. Damien McKenzie chased and scores. Away for Bowden Barrett. Here's McKenzie. Space again. They're running right now. Gets the pass away for Laumapi. Oh! Nani Laumapi.
Yes, boy, you've got to enjoy that.
Great try by Lamapa, just smashing them. I mean, but I think one of the most pleasing aspects for Hansen would be the impact from the bench, because it was something that fell away a bit last year.
Yeah, I mean, he'd put a lot of emphasis on it, saying, we want our bench to get out there and make a difference, and they certainly did that last weekend. And they're also competing for positions, so you want to get on there. And I think there was a couple of games last year where Hansen just came out and said the bench didn't do the job.
I thought McKenzie, Geordie Barrett played really well. I was really pleased with Geordie Barrett, but then McKenzie came on and just made a difference, and that's what we've been waiting for him to do at this level.
Oh, he's been doing it for a while.
Yeah,
so that was a stupid thing to say.
No, that's what we.
What about South Africa last year?
Yeah, okay,
dumb thing to say.
Yeah. So that was my shit.
But I think.
But that was what we're hoping every time he comes on the field.
Now?
Yep.
He is really, 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 really unbelievably good, especially when the defence gets a bit tired. So you put him on at the right time. I mean, he's great anyway when he starts, but you imagine when he gets out there, you're a little bit fatigued, and he just has this ability to find space. So, yeah, he's been good for a while, Ricardo.
Yeah, I know he's been outstanding for a while, but that's, every time he comes onto the field, particularly he's coming off the bench, that's what you're hoping for, because you know what he can do, and you know that he can change a game, because as you say, with the tiring defence, he's so quick, and he backs himself.
I think I just said that, didn't I?
Yeah, but I said it much more eloquently.
Yeah, you did.
And used slightly bigger words.
Yes.
And Carl Tuakanafi, who just the tears during the anthem, the haka, and
the mo,
and then he came on and demolished that scrum, or they demolished the scrum, but it was perfect timing for him to come on and carried well. What a great story.
Yeah, I think we said on the show that there, we were hearing about this secret prop that no one had spoken about, but we couldn't find out who it was, and now we know, which is fantastic. But they say he is. I mean, Chrono is in love with him. So the All Black scrum coach is in love with the man, just because he can really, really scrum, and he hasn't reached his potential yet, right? So he's strong. He's got that bull force, and then they believe that with a bit more upskilling in the dark art of propping. Lowy told me that it was a dark art. You think it's a dark art?
Yeah, I think it is. And does it take you a while before you're comfortable at test level that you're able to truly sort of express yourself?
I think when we played, it was a real scary time, because we felt that if we played our first test and lost, we'd probably never be seen again. And talking about the French, we won 13-12 or something when I first played. So you can imagine my anxiety levels. But I think nowadays, you've got a little bit more time. And if you especially look at this particular coaching staff, they bring people off the bench for a while before they start. So they get them used to it. But yeah, I think it takes a while to settle. It's the pace and the decision making. I know we see everything recorded on TV, especially when we're talking about foul play, but things are happening so fast, decision making's faster, everything's happening at break speed, so it's hard.
It's we caught up with them. Well, James Somerset and the All Blacks TV crew caught up with them in the dressing room after the game.
I guess it's just a proud moment for me and my family. Yeah, it was just hoping my grandparents could have seen this day, but yeah, I know they're looking down.
What was it like, I guess, when you got the call and you knew you were going on?
It was a bit earlier than I expected. I thought I was going to get like 5-10 minutes for a first game, but yeah, as soon as you get the call, got a door job, so yeah, I'm just happy to get on. I got a lot of work to do, but yeah, I'm just happy it's with these boys because they're really helpful when it comes to like learning. Yeah.
Now that you have made your debut, what's your goals now?
Just to try my best to see if they need me for a job, then I'm happy to keep doing it. But, I know there's a lot of work-ons, but yeah, I'm just happy to do it for the black jersey. Yeah.
Awesome, congrats.
Hey, thanks a lot.
But there's
That's
a
a
bit
great mo. That is a great mo.
yeah. He seems to be a cool guy. I've been really impressed with the way he's handled himself off the field as much as what he did on the field. He's been very impressive, an impressive man. I'm just reading some of your questions. A lot of it's shirt focused. Can you just leave the shirt alone? Or it's just whatever's at the top of the pile is normal. Now we've got a lovely script here from Alinda Gomez. Referees is a profession and supported by an organisation just like the professional rugby players. Why can the IRB ban a rugby player for foul play and lose match fees, but the referee goes on to the next weekend? So that's someone that sort of supports you a bit, I suppose.
Yeah, look, I don't want to beat up on the refs. I think they do a great job. I know a lot of them, they're good people, but I also think that you're right. What we need to be able to do is have some transparency from the leadership and say, he got it wrong. The thing that annoys me is Steve Hansen and the All Blacks, they have to answer a whole lot of questions this week about foul play and about, someone being yellow carded and someone not. It's not their fault. So how do we get the referees better? Yeah, I think standing down doesn't hurt as long as you don't lose your job. I mean, All Blacks, anyone in this game
I think it's
gets
just
put on the bench.
transparency. I'm sure behind the scenes they're going, look, you got it wrong. We need you to help. This is what you should do in this situation. Blah 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 blah. They just need to communicate it and maybe take some of the pressure, own some of the criticism.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
That was a funny noise just then. And then someone just said, Lewis Curran said, "Come on, guys." So I'm not ready. And someone said, "Do you remember sitting rosaries in Hong Kong?"
What?
I'm not
Do you
sure.
want my glasses?
No,
I've
I
told
can
you
read
about
it.
using glasses.
I can read it.
We're
I
getting
just can't
older. It doesn't
understand
matter. It comes with age. You can wear glasses.
So there's someone, Lewis Williams here, saying that DMAC is the informed fullback, but really they're looking at that 1-2 punch, aren't they? The All Black selectors, Geordie Barrett diffusing the high balls, and then bring on McKenzie when the defence is tight.
Yeah, look, I think the All Blacks are really fortunate to have an incredible, probably 30 players at the moment, and so they can pick horses for courses. And Steve Hansen continues to say, and maybe we need to get our heads around it as the public, 23 players to win. 23 players to win. Doesn't matter if you're in the starting 15. It's 23 players. And maybe the All Blacks have taken that,
Got a good question here from
to
Jay Hines. The training in the Southern Hemisphere is for tackling, is for lead with the shoulder and wrap arms afterwards. In the Northern Hemisphere, it's lead with the arms out first. Not sure how you can tackle like that. So do you think we need to change the rules? I think what he's saying, Jay's saying, do we need to change the coaching in the Southern Hemisphere?
No, I think that we tackle to the law. So I think this new law, nipple down next year will be good. And I think it'll do two things. I think it'll help the attack because I think guys will be able to get more offloads and it's just going to be clean, right? You tackle above that. Now, what do the referees need to do? You tackle above that yellow card? I don't know. Or what is it, a warning? What happens if you tackle above that? But I think that'll be a real positive.
But you're a coach. You were a coach.
Not a very good one.
But when
obviously.
You coach tackling skills, etc., I mean, surely we're encouraging our players.
Tackling.
Yeah, well, when you've got the defence coach to talk to them. And I'm surely we're not saying tackle high.
No, never.
So,
never.
But is our technique, what is our technique? Shoulder first, wrap round. So sometimes...
Yeah, I mean the correct technique, and one of the reasons why New Zealand has been successful, and continues to be successful, is around our individual skills. So 8 or so years ago, Mickey Byrne did a study on what is the right technique, and we then broke that down into movement. So, if you can get your same foot in and then hit with the shoulder and wrap, then you're going to have a good technical tackle. The trouble is that things are moving really fast in front of you. And while we slow a lot of this stuff down, if someone falls as you're launching, you can't stop. And that's what I say about it's quite easy for us at home. So I think the new law means that now we have been targeting the ball a lot, right? So you target the ball to stop offloads. With this nipple down law, then I think it's going to be more flexibility from your knee and your hip to get yourself lower. And that's often the case when you hit high. You're upright, someone's beating you with footwork, and you throw out an instinctive arm, which looked like what happened with the French guy. But if you're going forward and your knees and your hips aren't engaged and low enough, then you're going to hit too high. And when you hit, sometimes you can slide up instead of sliding down. So this new law is going to be really, really hard to technically coach, because you're going to have more flexibility.
Yeah, and I mean, is that wrapping of the arms, like, are you hitting with your shoulder and the wrapping with the arms is sort of secondary? Because when we were playing, it was always about, we were down sort of really low. We were sort of tackling around the ankles or cheek to cheek or whatever it was. But now you're coaching players to tie the ball up in the tackle as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it is definitely hit with the shoulder and then wrap with the arms, because that's the safest thing for you as well.
Yeah.
Because if you hit with your body, right, you've got, in my case, 100 odd kilos behind you.
Yeah.
If you hit with the arm, then you've only got 5 kilos or whatever it is. So yeah, you hit and then wrap, and that's how it should be, but it should always be low. If you're projecting upwards, then it's going to go up. But most of the head highs are actually from someone being off balance and throwing an arm out.
Yeah.
I think what happened to Offa was unfortunate, because he was lining up to go forward, and the French guy fell into it a wee bit.
It's just a collision, isn't it?
It's a collision.
Yeah.
It's bad luck.
Yeah. And it's going to happen
for both, and it's going to happen, and it'll continue to happen. I think the high shots are different. High shot, if you get lazy technically coming across, then
let's look at some of the other tests that played. So Australia has just named the same test team for this next test against Ireland, and I think it's the first time Michael Cheika's ever named the same 23 in a row.
Yeah, 46 test matches ago he did that, apparently.
Yeah, so bringing Hooper and Pocock together, Folau.
I've always hated, or that's probably a harsh word, I've always thought Australia were way better with 2 loose forwards, right?
Yeah.
So instead of going for the 6 that jumps in the line out, playing 2 scavengers, for want of a better word, they've always been really, really dominant, and they've always really put us under pressure. So
I mean, Pocock's outstanding, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's been away for a year.
Yeah.
He's had a year off.
Apparently, I think Cheika's had like a 60% win record, but when he's not had Pocock, he's had a 40% win record. Shows how important he is to the team. And so the Irish have
20%.
named, the Irish have made 8 changes to their test side. So,
doesn't pay to lose.
Well, Joe Schmidt gambled a little bit because he had a lot of tired players, and he put them on the bench like Johnny Sexton and Furlong and stuff. They're all starting. They've got a whole new front row, and they brought Dan Levy, I think, is into the loose forward trio to try and get some parity at the breakdown. But that was a fantastic test match.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a great.
So was Africa.
Africa, South England. Oh,
yeah,
it was fantastic.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. And so, who do you think is going to win that next test? England, South Africa.
Oh, England have to win. They're desperate. They have to win. Now, they were outstanding for, 18 minutes?
Yeah.
And they have to be more consistent with their penalties. They gave away too many penalties, got a bit sloppy, but they have to win.
But how impressive were some of these new South African players?
It was good.
Their Locke and Snyman and the Clerk at halfback, and the guys they brought back. They've added Sculpt Bricks to the mix. I mean, it's going to be one hell of a test. I mean, Saturday night, that's what you do. You watch.
Yeah, and I
3
love
games.
A series.
Yeah.
How good is a series? We've been fluffing around with 1-offs and 2-offs, and the series is brilliant.
While you fluff around, we'll just look at the highlights from those other games.
Now it's Beale. Floating one out, quick hands. Cora Betty, Hale Penny. Nice build up, Wallabies. For every big man. Again, it's Stockdale pulling him down. They go to the short side. Truck time. Australia.
de Klerk. LaRue. Nkosi. With burst of speed from Sbu Nkosi. And some good strength in the tackle as well. And Faf de Klerk is over.
Kane just pointed out that there's no way you're 100 kgs. You made out that you're 100 kgs.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm 118. I'm 10 kilos overweight. So thanks, mate, for reminding me. Yeah. Made me feel real good.
Yeah,
Can we talk about Ricardo's shirt instead of mine?
No, actually, Jay Hines is some really intelligent conversation there, talking about what you were talking about with leading with the shoulders and having the he feels that we think the arms is completely secondary, but it's not. It's all part of the same process, isn't it? Well, I suppose it's the second impact.
What are you saying?
I don't know. I'm just reading words and saying them out.
Yeah, no, the technique is hit with the shoulders and wrap with the arms.
So how important?
It's always been that.
How important are the arms? He's
So
saying
it's fundamental. You've got to wrap with them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to make the tackle.
Yeah, because it's not just a hit, isn't it? It's a tackle.
It's a tackle. Like you can't do it without your legs. You can't do it without your arms. You know, you're not allowed to shoulder charge.
No.
So it's got to be instantaneous. But you've got to hit and wrap.
But I think there's that sort of feeling that what
Can
we
we
do.
get off tackling?
Well, because you don't.
I never made one in my life.
Yeah, should we do kicking?
Talk about attack.
Oh, should we talk about our weight?
Yeah, but listen, to answer your questions, the technique needs to be correct. It needs to be shoulder, wrap with the right foot in. Sometimes that doesn't happen because everything's moving really fast. And the other thing that's really important is that you need to have flexibility in your knees and your hips to make sure you can get low enough. So how does a lock tackle a halfback without taking his head off?
Lie down.
Correct. Thank you, Ricardo.
Just lie down and be able to trip over it. I mean, what I find fascinating is there's all this talk about tackle technique and this hit and that hit and stuff like that. And I'm sure the French aren't sitting down obsessing about that one incident because they're sort of going, how do we win this game? How do we beat the All Blacks? And it's not worrying about one tackle.
They would have moved on Sunday.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So they'll be really, really encouraged by what happened in the first, 62 minutes, 63 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And they'll want to build on that. I reckon it's going to be a humdinger this week. I think it's going to be a really good game. I hope everyone can stay on the field from both sides. I hope there's not a knee-jerk reaction from
because
the
it was actually a well-behaved, sort of game. I mean, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the test because I thought the French came in hard, really tested us. We were a bit rusty, made a few mistakes. They sort of built on that pressure, leading at half time, and we answered that pressure. And I'm not getting bogged down about the yellow card because I think we would have won anyway. And I think that we made a great impact off the bench.
Thanks, Steve Hansen.
What? That's what I thought.
I don't care.
So that's Feed the Backs from someone whose opinion you care about and me, who just wears shirts. Good night.